This is part 3, section 6 of our Vectorworks 2021 drafting tutorials, where we finally get to start inserting some lighting instruments. There's a couple of things that you're going to need for this section. On your thumb drive that I gave you at the beginning of the semester and also in the files section of Canvas, there are a couple of files you need to download and open. One of them is called Beam Spreads, and the other is an A-size template holder. We'll want to have both of those open and ready to go. Once you have those open, make sure that you click back in your Vectorworks Tutorial 3 file. And then we'll go up here to Resource Manager, and here are the other open files that I have, my Beam Spreads and my A-size template. We're going to click on Beam Spreads and go into there. And what I've done is provide you with symbols for the most commonly used beam spreads that we have: 14 degrees, 19, 26, 36, and 50. And what we want to do is bring each of those individually into our drawing. So we're just going to double click on that to select it and double click to place it randomly in the drawing. And as soon as you place it, you can delete it. We don't need it anymore. It's already been brought in. So we're just going to do that for each one of these. Great. So all of those have been brought into this drawing. If I click on my Vectorworks Tutorial 3, here they are. We're going to do just a little bit of housekeeping here to help keep the Resource Manager organized a little bit. So we're going to right-click on the file name and say we want a new resource in Vectorworks Tutorial 3, and we want a resource folder. This dialog box will pop up. It's going to want to default to a gradient folder, which is not what we want. We want a symbol folder, so we'll click on the drop box and come down to symbol folder and select that. And we're going to name the new folder Beam Spreads. And we'll click OK, and there it is populated in our resource browser. From here, we can just take each one of these symbols and click and drag to put each one of them in that beam spread folder. Great. So now go back into the Resource Manager, into that new Beam Spreads folder that you just created, and we're going to select a 19 degree. So double click on that to activate the symbol, and we're going to come down to the center of the front of house truss number 2 to its insertion point and double click to insert that 19 degree symbol. So this is a 19 degree beam spread showing us what a fixture would do hung from this position, and it looks pretty good. We're going to overlap with areas B and D while being centered on area C pretty well, so it's going to overlap just fine. We're not going to get any dips in intensity or people walking through shadows. So 19 degree looks like it'll work pretty well from that position. So knowing that, we're going to select this beam spread and just delete it, just using it for reference. We can go back up to our Resource Manager, and now we want to go into our Vectorworks libraries and scroll down into Objects, Entertainment, Lighting Instruments. These are all done by manufacturer, so here are all of the different manufacturers that can be referenced, and we are looking for ETC Source 4. And we want the Source 4 folder. So here are all of the stock 575 watt source 4 symbols that are inherent in Vectorworks, and we're going to select our 19 degree. We'll double click on that. Now, it's important to know that it has selected this symbol, but it has also automatically activated the lighting device insertion tool in your lighting tool set. So as soon as you click, it will start placing the fixtures. There's one more thing that we need to do first, however. If you notice, we are still in our focus points layer, and that's not where we want to place our lighting instruments. So we're going to click on this manager, and we're going to click our light plot so that we're on our light plot layer, so we know where we're placing those fixtures. So I'm going to zoom into the center of my front of house number 2 truss, right on its insertion point, and I'm going to double click to insert that symbol. So there's my 19 degree. It's going to automatically be inserted with a hexagon and a circle behind it. Don't worry about those for right now. We're going to deal with those a little bit later on. So with this highlighted, if we open our object info palette, Vectorworks is telling us that this is in fact a lighting device. It's on the light plot layer, but it has auto-populated a little bit of information. It knows that it's 575 watts, and it knows that it's on FOH truss number 2. There's a bunch of other blank information that we can fill in, which we'll get to a little bit later on, but this is verifying that Vectorworks knows that this is a 19 degree source 4 and the position that it's hanging on. So we're actually going to have 2 systems of front light in this tutorial. So we want these to split center, whereas we have placed this one on center. So with it selected, we're going to go ahead and move it, Command M. And we're going to move it -9 inches on the x-axis and 0 inches on the y-axis. And we'll hit enter. This is just a ghosted fixture. It's not actually there. Sometimes the graphics card gets a little confused, so don't worry about that. This is the fixture that we've just moved, and now we're going to duplicate it, and we're going to move the duplication 18 inches on the x-axis. 18-inch centers is our standard spacing for lighting instruments, and it works pretty well. Everything has plenty of room to focus, and is kind of an industry standard. So here are our first 2 front lights. And we know that our focus points are on 6-foot centers, so we can just select these 2 and duplicate and move them 6 feet. There's our second set going to area B. We'll do that once more for our set going to area A. And of course, we need to mirror that to the other side, so we're just going to select all 4 of those. Activate our mirror tool from the basic tool set, and then on centerline, holding shift to lock the orientation in place. We've mirrored our fixtures over, so now we have our 5 downstage areas of cross in 2 different colors of front light. So the next thing we're going to do is place fixtures on our first front of house truss, and we want to center them up with area G, which is right here in our area layout. So once again, I'm just going to double click on my 19 degree to activate it. It's going to automatically activate my lighting device insertion tool, and I'm going to come up and grab the insertion point of area G and drag my mouse straight down till I get this green dashed line. Then I'm holding shift to lock that orientation in place so that I know that when I get to my front of house truss with that green dashed line, that it's directly in front of that particular object, in this case, area G. So I'll click that twice to insert it. And then again, we want this to be in the center of area G, so we're going to move it -9 inches. And then we'll duplicate it and move it 18 inches. Now we can select both of these items and duplicate and move them the 6 feet that we know our areas are crossed. Oh, I'm going to redo that so I actually move it 6 feet, not 6 inches. There we go. And now I'm just going to mirror these across center yet again to fill in the last 2 areas in that second lane. The last one we're going to do is for our upstage area. Those are going to be placed on the first electric, and for that, we're going to use a 36-degree source 4. So up in our resource manager, we'll select our 36-degree, activate that. It activates our lighting device tool in our lighting tool set, and my first one's going to go right on center line. Great. I'm going to move it our -9 inches, duplicate and move that duplication 18 inches, so I'm splitting center. I'm going to select both of those items and duplicate and move them our 6 feet. And finally, mirror those fixtures across center line to grab that upstage right area. That's all of our front light inserted, so I'm going to go ahead and fit to page and save my file. In the next section, we'll look at inserting the backlight.